This is an 8374, and this is not small. Fits. So I reckon the next thing to do is whip this back off and modify that exhaust housing for the 3.5-inch V-band. So I've just been talking to Mr. Taylor, and we can't quite get this in the lathe. It basically needs to grab here, and it's just hitting the chuck just on the actual T4 flange itself. I could be crude and like chop a bit off there, but it's actually not that important because we're not struggling for space here because there's quite a fair bit of pipe before it needs to go to the silencer. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually just going to turn the V-band down this side of it, so it actually like kind of just sweats onto that, just sits down onto that really nicely, and then Craig's going to run a bit of TIG around the bottom here and then fill in here with TIG, and that should be absolutely perfect for sort of getting the gas flow out to 3.5 inches as quick as you need, really. Go. Just about make that out, and properly. There you go, ready to weld. Craig, can you just
tick that on?
We've got the Spice Girls on, so Craig's really happy. We're social distancing, and Craig's about to start firing some TIG at this. The long zoom.
Yeah, so just gone round it like pretty much 3 times, just filling in just to try and get like a little radius in there to make it as nice and expansion as possible.
Yeah. No, it looks smart.
That should do the job.
I mean, yeah, it's exhaust gases at the end of the day, and they're just going to fire out. It will be okay. No, that
needs to look nice as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. No, it looks. I don't think we even need the external weld, do we? On that, that's more than enough.
Like you said earlier, that will come back off now if you want to change it.
Yeah, just with a bit of machining. But yeah, no, thank you very much. I'll let that cool down and let you crack on with your own car.
Right. See you later.
Cheers, mate. So I'm back round at my workshop. Slight admission, this is 2 days later. It's really hard to film everything for these YouTube videos, especially when you're doing something that's done. genuinely quite excited and interested in. The reason it's quite difficult is because it basically makes everything take 3 times as long, picking up the camera and filming stuff and remembering and trying to sort out an order that you filmed in, make sure you explain the story as you go along. So I apologise for the big skip here, but I'll bring you up to date with what I've done. See, on this, the turbo is sitting on the manifold and it's sitting really nicely. I've clocked the compressor housing, so basically you can probably just about make it out here and do this V-band, just a little 10mm. You can then spin the compressor housing round to where you need it to be. It's now clocked to be in the perfect position to get the pipe on. Nothing's done up here, but so that's the intercooler pipe that goes up here, and it's a bit too long because the compressor housing's bigger. So that needs shortening, but I'm not sure whether I'm gonna get stuck into replacing the intercooler straight away or not. I'll have to make a decision on that at some point soon. So you've got the catch can on the bottom of the oil drain here. I basically just had to oval out these holes. The mounting holes were spaced much closer together on the new turbo, but again I managed to clock the center here to give this the clearance that it needs against the exhaust housing, and it kind of sits where it was. It might be a little bit further back and I might need to trim the bumper a little bit more, but it already had a recess in it for the bumper. You'll notice the open ports here. It is a water-cooled core, but the EFR series is strongly recommended water cooling, not 100% necessary apparently, which is good to know because this car doesn't have any water in it, obviously. The V-band worked out really well here. After the last video I got Craig to throw in a little bit more filler just to make it a little bit smoother, more gradual out to 3.5 inch. But again, it being exhaust gases, it's not overly fussy about flow or steps or anything like that, but this will give it a nice smooth transition anyway, because just it looks right that way. So yeah, it's ended up sitting quite perfectly. Again, the little bit of clearance that I made back there worked perfectly. Height wise, it's pretty perfect here. It's got like about maybe 2-3 mil at the moment, but I can massage that a little bit more if I need to. What else have I done? Oh yeah, oil feed, if that will allow you to see that there. Let me give it a torch. So I've converted the oil feed to a banjo type -4, which will then fit perfectly onto the pipe that was already in the car, which is -4. So that's worked out really nicely. Exhaust, I think I mentioned before that coming out the back of the HKS turbo there, that was basically 3 inch, and kind of weirdly is restricted inside there by a short pipe. It's quite hard to see, but it kind of means that only kind of that much of the silencer was doing something anyway, and then it comes up to 3.5 inch here at this flat kind of V-band style thing, which means that hopefully I might have to change the flange on this, but this section of 3.5 will still work, which is good. It's already got the lambda bung in there, lambda port. So I've got to remake this, and I wanted to do something a little bit bigger. You haven't got a choice. You can't go crazy big with it, obviously. There's a bit of a space restriction there. But I've got one of these Jetex, they're Simmons silencers. I've used them on a whole load of stuff and they work really well. It's stainless, it doesn't fall apart like most of the MagnaFlow and other stuff that I've used over the years. I've got these on cars that are sort of 5+ years old and they're still doing their job. And yeah, it's pretty decent shape and size, and 3 inch straight through the centre there. And they do make a reasonably nice difference to the volume. I'm hoping that this is just going to be enough to mean that I don't need to wear earplugs in the car anymore. And again, it's a bit to do with holding a camera, but you can kind of see A little bit of fettling is going to be required here, but I'm going to be able to match that up pretty straight into that V-band there, which is awesome. And hopefully, if I do things right, I should be able to use the standard mounting point off the old silencer, and yeah, it'll sit there quite nicely behind the bumper. Intake. So the old intake, this is actually a bit further this way, so space is a bit tighter, and what was here was this piece, which I think I mentioned is a really nicely made piece by Promodet. But as you can see, it goes from the 4-inch, the 102mm, and restricts right down to 3-inch there, and that's because basically the space up here is incredibly tight. Get that torch again. Space up there is incredibly tight, so yeah, you can kind of see what that originally joined to up there, and it has to kind of miss all sorts of stuff. So it has to miss the intercooler pipe, which you see there, and then behind that is the Dizzy, and there's just loads of stuff in the way, and I've moved some stuff around. I can, you know, squeeze a 4-inch pipe through there. I have physically managed to get one to fit, but it's kind of touching the engine mount, touching the engine, or there's a little oil pipe that sits on the top of the engine there, and it's not ideal. And that's where it used to sit. It's not bolted in, so that's not exactly where it's at, but you get the idea. That's where the filter was. So new idea, waiting for parts on this, but basically 4-inch, it's going to do kind of that, then it's going to curve around here nicely. Might have to modify this bar slightly, which is kind of the bumper and exhaust heat shield support. Then it's going to go up here, and it's going to go up into the massive space that I've got in these arches, and the filter's going to sit up here. I'm going to use a K&N, which I've ordered, and I'm going to use a pre-charge filter on the top of it as well. This does have a proper splash guard. I think it's the original piece. It fits reasonably well, but I'm going to have to do quite a bit of work just to make sure that it's a bit more sealed, so there's no chance of water spray coming off the wheels and getting onto the filter. But that should give us a much nicer sort of bit of cold air as well, as long as I can shield it properly from the exhaust heat coming this way. I think it'll work really nicely, and it gives me loads of room in the engine bay there for maybe the bigger intercooler. I have a Turbo Smart blank off plate for this on the way, which is a dump valve. I've removed the boost controller. I don't need that port either, so I'll block that off. So that's what you missed. I should probably just crack on and actually do something and show you me doing it rather than get too excited and too carried away. But yeah, long and short of it, it fits, it looks awesome, it's going to work. Everything seems to be lining up nicely. There's lots more work to do to make it to complete it, but yeah, it's looking really good. So that's probably a pretty decent point to end the video now that I've waffled on for ages. These videos end up being really long quite often, and I have to cut out loads of stuff, so I'm going to try and do this a little bit more incrementally, and remember to film and not get overexcited and just do loads of work without showing you. I'll try and make sure that doesn't happen again. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing if you're not already. My personal Instagram is philmorrisondw, where a lot of this stuff ends up before it goes on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
At Driftworks, we've helped over 50,000 happy customers since 2004. Our huge online parts store is simple to use, with superb shipping rates to anywhere in the world, and finance options available for UK customers. We live and breathe wheel fitment, so if you have any questions about your own car or any of our products before placing an order, please drop us an email at shop@driftworks.com or give us a call. Thanks for watching.